The stage is set. Your Spurs will be taking on the Portland Trail Blazers. But are there any concerns or things we should worry about on the Portland side of the court? Hey, welcome back to another episode of Spurs in Focus right here on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, Apple, iTunes. I mean, seriously, you pick a platform, you'll find this show and you'll be able to subscribe like right now. Yeah, go subscribe right now, especially on YouTube. Ignore the rest, all right? You want to come here first. Your only spot for all things San Antonio Spurs. Don't forget about the Substack, Spurs in Focus Substack, completely free. Our guest is buying the first 100 subscribers. Yeah, if you click subscribe on there, he's gonna get the bill. So you want to take advantage of that right now. I am Jeff Garcia, longtime Spurs writer in San Antonio. Glad to have you back. What are we talking about today? Obviously, Spurs Blazers, right? Got till Sunday to really look through this, sift through everything, see, what the two teams present each other on that floor. But on this episode, we're going to look at the Blazers side. Are there any concerns that the Spurs should have about facing the Blazers? Yeah, there are things that the Blazers present to San Antonio that could be a thorn on their side. We're going to talk about that. And then what player needs to step up? We're going to find out in just a few minutes. Going to bring in our guest, my good friend, I should say a very, very long time. Right now, I've known this guy, Hector Ledesma, for years. He is back, everybody. Hector, thank you for joining us here in Spurs in Focus. You want to follow him on X at Hector Ledesma TV. He writes for Clutch Points, and he does so many things. I lost track, man. I mean, I hear Clutch, KLRN. I mean, how do you handle it?
Good question. But hey, that's better than the alternative, right? You just figure it out.
Yeah, you just figure
out how to get it done. But yeah, man, always great to be with you, Jeff. Thank you.
No problem. No, thank you for taking time out of your schedule to join us here. Again, he's going to brag about what he's doing when it comes to Spurs coverage and why you should follow him on X in just a few minutes. Hector, the stage is set. You got Spurs, we got Blazers. Man, hopefully he's going to be rough and tumble like back in the 90s. Remember that series, the 7-game series? The Rod Strickland pass over the head to Sean Elliott. Oh, man. But here we are. It's a new generation. These two teams are going to go at it in just a few short days. We know what the Spurs do. We follow this team all year. Really good offense, really good defense. Victor, yay, Spurs. But the Blazers side of things, sure, they got in through the play-in tournament. Yeah, some fans might be thinking, they got through the play-in tournament. What kind of issues are they going to bring to us? But they can bring issues, Hector. If you look at that side of the court, Hector, what are some of the concerns you have about the team taking on the Blazers?
Before we get into that, Jeff, you mentioned the 1990 Spurs Blazers series.
No, man.
Let's have some fun with your viewers real quick.
Okay.
In the next 15 seconds, can you name not you as in Jeff Garcia?
Yeah.
You, the viewer watching. Let's have some fun. In the next 15 seconds, can you name the starting five for those Blazers? I think you can name the starting five for the Spurs. I think a lot of you can name those starting five, the Spurs starting five. Can you name the starting five for the Blazers? Go. One.
Look at Hector having fun here in Spurs in Focus. He's counting down, everybody. The countdown is on. The anticipation rises.
Now, Jeff, mind you, this is not prepared on my end. I didn't know you were going to bring up the 90s. Like obviously, it could stand a reason that they might come up, but I didn't know it was going to come up right away. So if your answer was the traditional starting five for those Blazers were Terry Porter, Clyde Drexler, Jerome Kersey, Buck Williams, and Kevin Duckworth, you're correct. The caveat being Kevin Duckworth was hurt, so a rookie Clef Robinson in place of Duck in a lot of those games. Wayne Cooper, a big man, got a lot of minutes for them too in terms of trying to press David Robinson down on the block. The Spurs starting five, obviously, Rod Strickland, Willie Anderson, Sean Elliott, Terry Cummings, and Big Dave. So if you got those five, you are an OG certified. Yes, you remember the heartbreak just like the rest of us and felt it just like the rest of us.
I can still see that play in my mind's eye. I can still see it in slow motion. Strick turning his back, head down, throws it over his pass. The ball sailing across the paint. Sean Elliott realizing, oh no, I gotta go back.
Pops back out.
And
then it goes cutting toward the basket. And in talking to Sean since then several times about it, Jeff, he doesn't necessarily blame Rod. He's like, it wasn't necessarily a bad play. Mm-hmm. It's just risky in that moment. And they were obviously on different wavelengths at that point. The game wasn't as sophisticated as it is quite yet. It was a little bit more simpler in terms of cut and space and things along those lines. But one more thing on that before we go to these Blazers, Jeff. Honestly, that series is really what cemented me as a Spurs fan, because I was in the 5th grade in that 89-90 season. Robinson's rookie year, the Spurs have been down, right? So I'm really like catching fire with this team like so many people did, catching fire again, right, after all the Gervin years. And then that series and that heartbreak, which, by the way, Game 7 was on my birthday, May 19th, 1990.
Man.
That
Happy
loss.
birthday, Hector.
So that series, fan for life. Like that series is forever etched in my memory. I'm sure a lot of you have those same memories and kind of hold that series in that same regard. Okay, enough about that. One time, all that good stuff. Man, Denny Avila, Jeff, by himself. Here's the thing that scares me in playoff situations is that guy. Does the other team have that guy?
Yeah.
Is Denny Avila Ant? No. Is he Jokic? No. Is he SGA? No. But honestly, Jeff, he has joined that tier right underneath. The guy's an animal. He's proven it this year. You saw him coming the last couple of years. You heard about him leading up to the draft before he even entered the league. And you're seeing it play in fruition. He simply took over in that second half. And even after Phoenix made that run in that ball game, he was the main reason that Portland was able to battle back. Yes, they got contributions from a lot of guys. Jeremy Grant hit some big shots, sharps. But still, it all starts with Denny Avila. And to me, this might sound blasphemous, right? Like, he's not as good as Devin Booker overall.
Right.
But in a 7-game series, in a series where every possession matters, every game obviously matters, he can make enough plays where he can have that kind of effect, a Devin Booker type effect. And I bring up Booker, obviously, because he's the guy on the Suns, and he would have been the other guy the Spurs would have faced in this first round. So for me, Jeff, it all starts with him. They've got other traits to them. They're young, they're athletic, they can get up and down. But to me, the fact that they have that guy kind of is reason enough to make you go, okay, they've got a puncher's chance, almost as literally as you can be in a basketball sense, because he's going to hit you with a couple blows here and there. They've got a puncher's chance in terms of knocking off the Spurs.
Yeah, absolutely. After the win versus the Suns, he was asked about facing the Spurs. He said, really, he didn't have much to say. He said, I don't have nothing to say about the Spurs right now. Yeah. So
they're a great team. It's we're gonna play, we're gonna compete. What you'd expect them to say, what you want him to say.
Well, here's something interesting. This season, in the games that he faced the Spurs, he averaged a little over 30 points per game.
Yeah,
but Victor did not play in any of the games.
None of them.
Yeah, none of them. So that may plummet a little bit because we see his bread and butter. He's just a big dude. He can get into that paint and body you and bump you off. I suspect he may try to do the same with Victor, body him, bump him off his balance there and try to go for a score. But we all know Victor is a human eraser. He'll probably take care of that. I expect Denny's numbers to drop a bit from his regular season averages in this playoff series, but he'll still light it up for San Antonio. Let me ask you, do you think, obviously, Victor is there. Yes, I get it. But outside of Victor, do the Spurs have anybody that can match up defensively against Denny?
Do you see, by the way, I'm sorry, my dog Spice, if she's poking.
No, Spice can join anytime.
Yeah.
Spice.
Spice is a huge Spurs in focus fan. She wanted to make sure she made an appearance. Yeah. And so she's promising to be quiet. The multi-poo Samson is outside right now. If he starts scratching at the door, that's probably what you'll hear. But
the pup wants to give their 2 cents on
absolutely. They know it's going to be. They know this series is going to be a dog fight.
Yeah. But going back to that question,
you missed it. Dog fights.
Dog fight. Then I'm done. Yeah.
Honestly, Jeff, the Spurs will throw Steph. They'll throw Castle at Denny. Honestly, is there anyone outside of maybe Jokic that Castle can't guard? That you look at the guy and you're like, dude, maybe Embiid. You're like, dude, Steph can't guard that guy. There's nobody. So the Spurs are going to look to do a couple of things. Obviously, Julian's some length you can throw at him. Yep. Harrison, you can throw at him as well. Even on switches, don't be what's the word I'm looking for? Surprised if you see Devin on him quite a bit. But yeah, the Spurs are going to throw different looks at Denny. Don't kid yourself here in terms of what the Spurs are going to throw at him. They know he's the head of the snake, and the Spurs famously, when it comes to playoff time, look to cut off the head of the snake. Now, this will be Mitch's first foray into the playoffs, and we'll see if that mindset continues. But he's a pot guy. There's every reason to think that that's going to continue. And you look from an X's and O's standpoint, there's every reason to think that is going to continue. Is you eliminate that, essentially, you're going to be in good shape.
Absolutely. Hector, for me, I want to say concerned. I'm just more intrigued about the Blazers' length, athleticism, especially at the swingman / guard spot. Now, the Spurs have a three-headed monster with Harper, Castle, and Fox. They're going to be an issue for Portland, but Portland can contend with some pretty good defensive guys out in the perimeter. Thibault, Holiday, Sharp. That's a lot of length there. I could see them trying to really disrupt passing lanes, really get up on these guys, use that length to try to disrupt any type of rhythm that the Spurs guards have. As a matter of fact, Hector, this past regular season, I should say, when it came to steal percentage, the Blazers were 18th in the league at 8.3 steal per game there. And if you look at their last 5 games before the regular season ended, they went up 1 to 7th in the NBA. 9.8 steals per game. They're going to create a lot of second chance opportunities using that length, athleticism. I think this would be a good test for the Spurs guards. What do you think?
No doubt. I mean, you mentioned Shaedon Sharp.
Yeah.
Drew Holiday. To me, Jeff, he's how do I put Drew Holiday? Like, if he's on a title contender, he scares the heck out of you.
Yes.
Right? Like he's the guy that in a tight game of a championship series, he's the guy that hits a big shot or comes up with a big steal down the stretch. In this role, obviously you'd rather have him than not.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think in what the Spurs got to worry about him more in this series is just kind of his defense. How much can he change? Can the Spurs not allow him to really get in and dig in and not change the series defensively? Yeah. But otherwise on those wings, I mean, there's Scoot Henderson, right? Obviously he hasn't so far. He's not the guy that I think people thought he might be going right after Vic in the draft, right? But that doesn't mean he didn't have a good season. You look at his production, pretty good over the course of the season. Nothing to sneeze at. Right around 14 points per game. You don't play a whole lot. 2 quarters essentially worth of action, but still, that athleticism can catch fire. Jeremy Grant, I think, is going to hit big shots for him. I think, and then you have DC down low, right? Like Klingon, I think to me, Klingon is kind of, he can be a problem in terms of when a game bogs down. If you're the Spurs, though, for all this talk about, slowing it down and you got to play better in the half court and you got to be able to get your shots, all that's true. But I think in this series, at least, the Spurs are going to still continue to try to run, and that helps negate guys like Klingon, Robert Williams, things along those lines. And so I think for me, that's going to be the key in watching that chess match. Do the Spurs settle into an area where the Blazers' length and athleticism on the wing and then size inside is able to bug them?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think this will be a good early test in this tournament for the guards because you talk about the head of the snake. Obviously, we know that's Victor, but if there's a co-head of the snake, it is that trio of guards that can be an issue for opposing defenses. Hopefully the Spurs can handle that. We're talking with Hector Ledesma. He's with Clutch Points, so many other spots. He's going to talk about that in a few minutes. Follow him on X at Hector Ledesma TV. 3, 2, 1. All right, so we're talking about Spurs, Blazers, and we're kind of looking at any concerns, issues that the Blazers can present. Now, after the win versus the Suns, Holiday spoke about facing the Spurs. Yeah, he acknowledged Victor. I think this time, I think that's just a given. But he did say for the Blazers, their key is going up against them on the defensive end. He feels it could be an issue for the Spurs defensively. Now, let me give you some stats here. Put it here on your screen, everybody. Hector, can you see that?
Yeah, I can.
All right. You look at some of their numbers. This is overall for their entire season there. Let's get us in camera there. Oops. That a little too small for you there?
I'm okay. I can see it.
Okay, perfect. You look at some of the defensive numbers, not too shabby. They're not horrible. Not horrible whatsoever. Anything stand out there for you when you look at those numbers?
These are the Spurs defensive numbers, correct?
No, these are the Blazers defensive numbers. They're sprinkled in there. Well, I'll start it off here. Look at that offensive rebounding, second in the NBA, 14.1 per game. So they definitely generate those second chance opportunities for themselves. And look at the Blazers again. Mentioned 18th in steals, 8.3 blocks. They're up there, top 10 team there, 5.5. Defensively, I think that's the biggest concern the Spurs could have is that, hey, this is not a chump team on that side of the court. They're going to bring it defensively. What do you think?
So the Blazers give up 46 rebounds per game? Or do they grab 46 rebounds per game?
They grab 46 rebounds per game. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
These are just Blazer stats across the board.
Yes, across the board.
Not just defense, but across the board.
No, across the board, yeah.
I got you. So
you can see the defensive numbers within this, yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, man, I think it's pretty much on par for what you might expect, right? Their league averages are kind of right. They have a couple of 28s, they have a couple of in the top 10s, a couple in the lower third of the league. And for the most part, though, you see them kind of middle of the league. About what you'd expect. I mean, that's a pretty good shooting percentage, right? They shoot it at a 55% clip. They're pretty good. Yeah. I mean, it's a team that is going to get after you, and you talked about this. Their length and their athleticism, I think, is going to be their strongest asset against the Spurs.
Yes, I think so.
And a couple, both as the Spurs were in the infancy of the Wemby era, those are the types of teams that gave the Spurs the best, the biggest fits.
You're right.
And so we'll see if that continues in a situation where the Spurs aren't going to be able to run as much as they have. But I think what's made the Spurs different this year is that they have found ways to negate whatever the team's advantage is. And a lot of that revolves around where they put Victor. A lot of that revolves around their shooting. They've shot the ball better this year. A lot of that has to do with Steph Castle being a year better. Dylan Harper now being into the mix. So we'll see how that balances itself out. But I think from a defensive perspective, I don't think there's anything massive they need to worry about. There's no changes. In other words, it's not a matchup problem, if you will, like OKC or Denver presents.
Right. Well, you talk about preserving the ball, why the Spurs need to really watch those turnovers and just really not give Blazers any type of life. Look at the second chance points at your bottom right screen there, 18.5. They really capitalize on those second chance points for themselves there. That's something. Yeah. So keep an eye on that.
And DC has a lot to do with that too. So does Jeremy Grant. Grant's active in there. Robert Williams very active.
But they definitely don't value the ball. Dead last in turnovers. Look at that.
That's the thing that's going to be key. I think if you can pressure them. And that's probably going to help. That's probably going to benefit the Spurs because if the Spurs can get them in a track meet, they're liable to get the Spurs to get more possessions out of that because Portland's just going to turn it over more.
Yeah, look, you mentioned DC a lot here. I wouldn't classify this as a concern. I would just think that the Blazers are going to try to force feed him, or at least get him going against Wemby as far as just bodying him. Try to get him in foul trouble because although he is not Wemby, not at that level, he is a big boy. He'll probably try to get him in foul trouble, make him commit some silly fouls. You can see that. And they can throw multiple guys at Wemby. They can throw obviously Klingon, Yang Hansen. Watch Yang Hansen be the difference maker in this series. They have Jeremy Grant. I see the Blazers trying to maybe go Klingon and then maybe try to kind of a la Dylan Brooks, get a smaller, stout, big guy.
Yeah, no doubt. They're going to throw smaller guys a bit.
Yeah. They're going to do that to him. But Before we transition into who do you want to see step up in this series, any other concerns that the Spurs should have about facing this Blazers team outside of they got nothing to lose? They can play wild and free. We're not the number 2 seed. We barely got in the play-in. What do we have to lose? I think that kind of mentality, if the Spurs relax, which I doubt, but if they take off the foot off the gas pedal, they might be in for a scrap.
No, honestly, Jeff, I think I'll be honest. Of the 4 possibilities, Phoenix, Portland, Golden State, Clippers, I think this is the Spurs' best matchup.
Okay.
Well, and it starts because of the guy, right? Who's the guy? Of these 4 options, which guy, for as much as I sang his praises, and rightfully so, of these 4 options, which guy would you least or would you most want to face?
Yeah.
Steph Curry, Kawhi Leonard, Devin Booker, Denny Avila.
Yeah, I got it. Right? I see where you're going with this. Right? Yeah.
Okay. So there's that. Number 2, when you think of scary low seed matchups, a lot of times it's because that low seed maybe had some injuries during the season, but they're pretty darn talented, or they're a tough matchup for you, a la 2011, the Grizzlies.
I remember that.
Yep. Right? Or they've got some talent. They just haven't been able to put it all together quite yet. There's just been something a little off. Or they're maybe aging a little bit, and so that age kind of caught up to them a little bit at certain parts of the year, and so that's why they won, 48 games instead of 58, right? Like, I don't see any of that in the Blazers. The Blazers are just the best way I can put it, and this is meant as no disrespect because they're in the playoffs as the 7th seed. They're another low tier Western Conference playoff team. They're just another one of those teams that you see typically come and finish between 6 and nowadays between 6 and 10, and when the playoffs start between 6 and 8. They're that kind of your typical team. And so because of that, it's describing them in generalities after going into specifics here for the better part of the last half hour or what have you. I think for that reason, I think the Spurs are in pretty good shape.
Yeah, I think so too. If the regular season is any type of indication, could be competitive. The Spurs did win the series 2-1. Both were about 10-ish win. That was kind of the gap there. The Spurs were in a fight. But again, as we mentioned, Wemby did not play in any games versus the Blazers. And in one game, they did not play against the Blazers with Wemby and Castle.
Yeah. And
again, Denny, he averaged a little over 30 points per game versus the Spurs. But again, keep that in mind. Didn't really play against a full-powered, healthy Spurs team. Even, remember, I think it was in the second game, Denny dropped the triple-double on the Spurs. So
the game in which Portland won?
Yeah.
Yeah, Portland won the first game here. It was right after Christmas. Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how this shakes out. But what do you all think? Are there any concerns about the Spurs taking on the Blazers? You little biting your fingernails already, saying, "Oh no, not them." We need to know what it is. Let Hector know on X at Hector Ledesma TV. Let me know on X at Jeff G Spurs Zone. All right, Hector. Who do you want to see step up in this series in that silver and black uniform?
This may be a bland answer, Jeff, and it might be one of those duh, but honestly, it's De'Aaron Fox.
Good pick.
I have been waiting all season long. Let me step back. Waiting is maybe the wrong word. I have been looking forward to, from the moment it was clear they were going to be a playoff team, they were that good. I've been looking forward to, I wonder if De'Aaron Fox is going to hit that next gear in the postseason. That is something I want to see because I think he can do it without taking away from Vic and without really stunting Steph's game. And so when he scores 25, Jeff, the Spurs are almost just about unbeatable.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So to me, it's if he is that guy in the playoffs, they're going to have no problem with Portland. And if he's that guy in the playoffs, they're going to threaten OKC, and they're going to threaten to win the whole thing. So to me, he's the starting point because, Vic is Vic. And at this point, Steph is Steph. Steph is nearing the point where in a couple of years, we could be Steph. Steph is on his way to becoming like a walking triple-double.
Yeah, sure. Like, yeah, absolutely.
Steph is on that trajectory. That is where he is now. And so what he's going to give you night in and night out. What De'Aaron gives you every once in a while is, yes, he'll give you those 27-point games, but he also give you the 12-point games, right? And so more 27-point games. And now he's getting a lot of those 12-point games, not only, this has happened sometimes, but not only because he's missing a bunch of shots and he's not playing well, he's doing it because he's deferring. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yes, still find your flow within, still find your offense within the flow of the game, but also still at the same time be more assertive, take over more possessions, take the shots, when you could give it up to somebody else. Things along those lines. I think if we see that De'Aaron Fox in this series, it's game over. If we see it in these playoffs, the Spurs have an outstanding shot to go far.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. In his career versus Portland, 26 games played, 21.7 points per game, 6 assists, 4.5 rebounds, again, in his career versus Portland. So he definitely loves seeing that black and red jersey on the other side of the court there. For me, I did have Fox at the top of my list. I did. I got to see if there's a playoff Fox. That needs to come out. Man, I'm going to go with this guy. Devin Vassell.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Devin Vassell. I think because of the length, athleticism, defensive versatility, just the versatility that the Portland has on that roster, I think the Spurs Vassell could be a good counter to that. Just as much as that could be a problem for the Spurs, Vassell's length, athleticism, defensive mentality, ability to knock down the mid-range could be a problem for the Blazers. I think he is flying under the radar right now if you're on the Portland side of the court right now. Because obviously focus on Wemby. Yes, we get that. We and all the triple-headed monster, Fox, Harper, and Castle, they get that, right? They understand that. But this guy, I think more often than not, he gets kind of slept on. And next thing you know, he has 20 points, right? And we're in the third quarter already. I'm going to go with Devin Vassell. I like to see him step up versus the Blazers. What do you think?
I think when you think of the term X factor, that's, you always hear it, right? Who's the X factor for this team? Who's going to be the X factor if they win? Devin Vassell is the epitome of the X factor.
Absolutely.
For the Spurs, because we talked about how Vic is Vic, Steph is Steph. And though De'Aaron fluctuates, De'Aaron's still De'Aaron. He's going to be on the court in the waning moments. He's going to have big possessions throughout the game. He's going to hit a big shot or two, hopefully more, hopefully several for Spurs fans throughout what they hope is a long playoff run. Devin Vassell, though, can be that guy who gets you a 20-point effort, a 24-point effort in a big Game 4 win on the road, right? That's Devin Vassell. You go into a Game 3, maybe not necessarily this first-round series, maybe this first-round series, but you go into Game 3, tied at 1, and he gets you a 26-point, 8-rebound, effort in which he hits 5 threes. He helps you he puts up that kind of an effort to help you take a 2-1 lead on the road. That's Devin Vassell. He's got that kind of ability. So I completely agree with you in terms of him being big as well.
Yeah. So for me, I got Devin Vassell. That gentleman seeing your screen, Mr. Hector Ledesma, he has Fox. But what do y'all think? Who could be that guy that needs to step up? Let Hector know on X at Hector Ledesma TV. Let me know on X at Jeff G Spurs Zone. Hector, before I let you go, what you got? Spurs in a sweep? You think it's going to happen? 4 games and Portland's out?
Okay. I tend to be more conservative with these things. I don't know.
Setting the stage already for himself.
I'm setting the stage because a lot of fans are going to be mad at me. You might you might not remember this because I know you talked to a lot of different people over the course of a lot of different shows leading up to the Spurs semifinal of the NBA Cup against or not the semifinal, the quarterfinal against the Lakers. I said, Jeff, I think the Spurs might win, but I think I'm going to go with the Lakers just because it's in LA and that's the way they get, we'll just leave it at that. And I don't think it says anything long-term for the Spurs, but what have you. I went more conservative. And the Spurs obviously proved me wrong then, right? Ended up going to the Cup final after beating the Lakers and the Thunder. I am going to be conservative again. First trip into the playoffs, young. I can see the road rocking them a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say Spurs in 6.
Ooh, interesting.
I
Wow,
think
okay.
Portland. I think Portland gets 2 in this series. Whether it's both at home, like when they're home in Oregon.
Yeah.
Whether it's both in Oregon or any combination of they bite the Spurs in game 2, or they catch the Spurs maybe napping a little bit in a game 5 in which the Spurs could have closed it out.
Yeah.
How either one of those I could kind of see happening. So I'm going to go Spurs in 6.
I'm going Spurs in 5. I think the road will rock them a bit. I think I can see them, especially that game 3. I think that game 3, they're going to be like, "Whoa, this is not the Frost Center. This is not it. This is a Blazers team, home court." And now, at least in that's that game 3. So I can see the bright lights, the pressure on them, especially if they're up 2-0. If they're up 2-0, that mounting pressure of close them out could really get to them. I doubt it, but it is a young team for the most part. So, but ultimately, I think the Spurs drop 1 game in Portland. They rebound from that loss that I predict in Portland, and then they just take care of business and wait the next round. But should be an interesting game. I think the Spurs are in for a scrap. I don't think it's going to be as lopsided based on regular season. I know Wemby didn't play, but man, this Blazers team, they look like they got a bunch of dogs on their team.
Yeah, they got guys who can play.
Yeah.
I just don't. I think Denny, though, is their only guy.
Yeah.
Well, maybe Scoot has this type of talent, but in terms of right now, that's the issue with them, I think. Denny's the only guy that scares you individually.
Yeah.
And I think because of that, the Spurs will carry the day. And I'll be honest, this Spurs team 2 years later, like what we project this Spurs team is going to be 2 years from now, this Spurs team 2 years later against this Blazers team, I think it's a sweep.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
This Spurs team, though, as in its current form, young, first trip to the playoffs, let's see. I think I'm going to give Portland a couple of games.
All right, well, there you have it. That is the prediction from Mr. Hector Ledesma. Let him know what you think about that and all he had to say about the Spurs-Blazers series on X at Hector Ledesma TV. Hey, Hector, we've been talking about you doing so many things, wearing so many hats from Clutch Point, Killer, and all that good stuff. What do you got cooking, man?
Well, speaking of hoops, if especially those of you in the greater San Antonio area, if you guys want to watch the best high school players, boys and girls from the area one more time, I just did the play-by-play for the San Antonio Sports All-Star Games.
Nice.
We separated them into 4 games, a 6A girls game, a 6A boys game, and then 1A through 5A for the boys, 1A through 5A, 1 game for the girls. So 4 games in total. They're on the KSAT YouTube channel right now. If you guys want to, it happened this past Sunday. So all the games are there now. If you want to go check them out, be like, hey, yeah, I'd like to get one more fix, the local stars and who's going to go on to the next level and all that good stuff. Doing that, do a lot of stuff with there on the play-by-play front. You mentioned Clutch Points, write for them, articles daily, feature video reports on the social media channels and the YouTube channel as well. You mentioned the Twitter handle, Hector Ledesma TV, KLRN news updates, and then do a lot of stuff for Flow Sports as well. For those who might not be familiar, it's a national digital broadcast company that does broadcasts from all throughout the country. It's funny, I've gone to Florida to broadcast a tournament that included Incarnate Word. I've gone to Dallas to broadcast a tournament that included UTSA. Yeah, so it's kind of funny the way things worked out. They also cover some college football for them too, high school football when that comes around on KCWX TV as well. But all that good stuff going on. So yeah, just trying to stay busy. And right now the Spurs obviously kind of taking center stage.
If you look up the definition of busy in the dictionary, you probably see this guy's face. Seriously, did you hear all that he does? I don't know how he does it. And he's a family man. He's a father. He's a husband. Hector, I seriously, did you invest stock in Red Bull and Vibrant pills and stuff like that?
I'll sleep later.
And he's a pet owner. Look at that. He does.
Yeah.
It all.
Spice is giving up on trying to make another appearance. I think she's like, Dad's not going to pay attention to me anymore. I'm going to go out.
Exactly.
And I'm surprised Samson hasn't been making a ruckus trying to get back in here, but he's outside somewhere.
Yeah. He's getting ready for the series, man. He's limbering up, stretching out. He's all right. Bring on this
later on, we'll do some. Well, the three of us will do some scout work together a little bit.
There you go. He is Hector Ledesma. Again, he's on X at Hector Ledesma TV. Follow him right now. It's a great follow. I suspect he'll be back as the playoffs can roll on, hopefully for a long run for the Spurs. Hector will be here on Spurs in Focus. Hector, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. We appreciate you. Thank you again for making an appearance here with us. Everybody else, we thank you all for making Spurs in Focus your first and only spot for all things silver and black. Seriously, come here for your Spurs stuff, everything you need. Get your fix right here at Spurs in Focus. Don't forget about the Substack. As mentioned in the intro, Hector is buying the first 100 subscribers. Seriously, you hit subscribe, that bill goes right to Hector. So deplete his bank account, man. Hit that subscribe button. Completely free. Thanks to Mr. Hector Ledesma. Go there right now, Spurs in Focus Substack. And, of course, here at the show on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify. Hector, this is how crazy it is. YouTube Music, it's on there. Seriously, I didn't know YouTube Music has pages dedicated to podcasts. Apparently they do.
Oh, wow.
So,
cool.
Yeah, they do. So it's on there. Pocket Cast, Spotify's mentioned. Yeah, no excuse for you to not subscribe to Spurs in Focus. We'll be back tomorrow as the Spurs Game 1 playoff series versus the Blazers right around the corner. So for Mr. Hector Ledesma, I am Jeff Garcia. Now you're in focus with Spurs in Focus.